finally, here's a tip for dining at Danny Meyer's restaurant. Don't leave one. The famous restaurateur eliminating tipping at Gramercy Tavern, Union Square Cafe, and his 11 other restaurants by the end of next year. Meyer says that tipping is actually a big problem for his industry. Okay, instead he plans to raise prices to create basically a fair wage system. Behind-the-scenes staff, dishwashers, everybody's going to be included. This, the line cooks as well. Remember, though, that we've got this push in New York to go to minimum wage for $15. So this could be a piece of why he's making this decision.
Tips do not count toward meeting minimum wage standards. And I said this on this program that this would start happening because you've seen it in San Francisco, which has been moving to hike the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Danny, it's starting at the Modern, which is his kind of most expensive restaurant up the street here in November, rolling out over the next year. One reason that he has to be doing it is because of all of the European tourists who come here who do not tip. Yeah. And this is it is very common in Miami and virtually every restaurant down there. They add this will be passed on through the actual menu prices. But in Miami they have a surcharge on every single check, and then they leave an extra line for an additional tip, which is it's a little too much.
What is it in Miami, Dagen? Is it like 18% or something?
They can add anywhere from 18 to 20% surcharge on all restaurant all.
It's interesting to me for a lot of reasons. And I know that all of us probably spend a decent amount of time out at restaurants, especially in New York City. I think the international component is a big one because you do have a lot of those international tourists and guests at these restaurants that have different tipping standards. And when you have your restaurant workers dependent on those tips and they're not getting them, it changes the behavior of the restaurant. So I also think this is Danny Meyer's in an effort to change the behavior of his staff. Maybe because they're incentivized for different reasons?
Could be, but remember also there have been a lot of lawsuits against restaurant owners, class action lawsuits by people claiming to be underpaid because if a person works over 40 hours, they need to not only get minimum wage salary, but then they need to be paid overtime. And there are a lot of class action lawsuits from people, waiters and other staff in the stores. And I think that's hurt many restaurants. So I think that is a big component of what Danny Meyer is doing.
The letter that Danny Meyer wrote, he talks about you get the front of the house staff who's compensated with tips, even the coat check you get tipped. But then, so you have a server maybe making $100,000 a year, but then a line cook who's not getting tipped making $35,000 a year. So this gives the business control to basically compensate everybody in a more equitable way. And I want the people cooking the food to make really good money too, not just the server.
I just want the server to be nice to me, and I hope that doesn't change with this new policy.
Think about
like, oh, whatever, here's your food, Casone. Enjoy.
Think about how many tips are off the books though now, and this is all going to be reported, so different for tax purposes as well. All right, good talker, guys. We'll keep that one going.
That's a great point.
All right.